Robertson Show. He used to work in none of your business, and now he's in all your business. Welcome to the Jeff Robertson Show.
It's like the armpit of California. I'm like right in the middle. Yeah.
Warm weather generally there.
Right now it says it's 52 degrees, and I believe it is sunny outside. Yeah, it looks sunny.
So I'm in Virginia. We've had a brutal down in the single digit cold spell here. Ice, and we've had lots of ice. So hopefully it's supposed to be 60s here tomorrow. Our weather's generally like yours, where it's 40s, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
But our January and February can be pretty brutal. So
it was like 60 almost all last week, and I actually have the back door open so the dogs can go in and out right now. Yeah. And I'm sitting here sweating under the lights. I'm like, dang, I turned the air on. No, I'm just teasing.
That's right. No, you're right. Let me tell everybody who I'm talking with today. Jessica Daniel is
Danel.
the wife, Danel.
Yeah. It's okay.
That's all right. I read that in my head about 5 times and was thinking.
I probably should have told you before, because I know it's an easy name to screw up. So it's all right.
It's, my family, I'll tell you a quick story. My family was like some of my older relatives were pagans, and PAG like ENS, and they used to be pagans, PEGG. And they dropped a G and changed it on their own. So when I saw yours, I was like, I wonder if they used to be like Daniels or something other. And your family's like, no, we didn't. Letters.
No, we didn't drop a letter, but I believe it is derived from the name Danelovich.
Yeah.
I don't know, Polish or something. My husband's name. My maiden last name is Andrew, but growing up they would call me Andrews with an S, and I'm like, not my last name, no
right.
S. Yes. So even as a married, I have my married name now. It's like no one can get it right either. So it's all right.
Sorry, I apologize for messing that up, but wife, mom of 3, author, and former childcare entrepreneur whose life has been shaped by resilience, hard decisions, and real-world chaos. She built $1 million preschool business and made the difficult choice to walk away to focus on her daughter's special needs and protect her family. Throughout her raw storytelling, humor, and honesty, Jessica now shares what success really costs, how identity shifts when life forces a pivot, and why letting go sometimes can be the bravest move a leader makes. Really excited. I was learning about you, all your profile and stuff, and entrepreneur, several friends that work in childcare and have 2 kids of myself. So I feel like in my your childcare providers become some of your best friends because your kids are around them a lot, right? So But, tell me what's a day in your life look like?
So, well, currently my husband and I have been together 28 years. We're married 25. I know exactly how many years we're married because we were married in 2000. So whatever year we roll on, we both know, oh yeah, this is the 25th year. We've actually missed our anniversary a few times. We're like, oh my God, our anniversary was last week and we forgot. But that's because our lives are just so busy. You know, he's a physical therapist now, but he works, 2 jobs, like 2 hospitals. I call it 2 jobs, but it's the same job. But he works at 2 hospitals, a lot of hours, like 12 to 12 almost, like 12 hours a day. And then I have 2 jobs. I work in broadcast media. I work for a TV station, and I also work for a radio company. Kind of doing both at the same time.
How did you find your way into broadcast media? And
I know it's so crazy. Let me get to the story because that's where I'm at now. But that's a day in the life of me now. I mean, if you saw, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screens right in front of me. My little.
You're teeing me up because that was my curiosity. Is because like there's a whole story that takes you to broadcast media. So
it's crazy.
Like tell us how
I'm not the talent. Okay, I'm too chubby to be the talent. Let's just get it there. But I do all the behind stuff. I take care of a lot of stuff. And in fact, they're not even utilizing all my talents because I did photography. So I could be an MMJ, like I could do the photography. I could do the editing. My station just does not know all the skills, but whatever.
Comedy and on-air personality is probably going to be the thing that I'm going to call them and tell them that they're overlooking.
I know. I juggle a lot. So my kids, I have 3 kids. I have a stepdaughter. She's 32, I think 32, if I did the math right. My son is 25, and my daughter, my youngest, it's her birthday today. She's 16.
Yeah, happy
So we're
birthday.
going to talk a little bit about her. But they all have something going on with them. Like my stepdaughter had depression and ADHD growing up. And so we did a lot of we went to all of our IEPs, even though we lived 4 hours away. Her dad and I would take off whatever we were doing, run to the school, go to her IEP at 7 a.m, even though it was like really far. So then my son, he has Asperger's and depression. I don't know what I'm doing to my kids. They're all depressed, but, so Asperger's and depression. So he went through a lot of problems through school, and he tested out of high school as a junior, did not want to be in high school. So he started college early and did a couple years of college. And there's some things going on with him. It's hard. I don't know what's going on with these kids, these Gen Zers. I just don't know. And so, so I work 2 jobs. I have my son and my daughter are still with me, living in the house, and then my husband. I have 3 dogs. I just want to, I love them, but man, they're like the bane of my existence. They are brats. They're 3 French bulldogs, Ricky, Bobby, Whitney, and Opie. And they're the mom, dad, and son. So it's a family thing, but they are brats, and they sometimes will fight. So if I get up because they're starting to brawl, I have to make sure they don't eat each other. Cause they literally, I have a boo-boo. I don't know if you can see it on my arm because it scratched me when I'm trying to separate them. It's like, it's torture. Okay, so let's get back to the beginning. Let me take you to the beginning. I started a book. Okay, so during my 2 jobs, I have like some downtime. And so I thought, well, I've always wanted to write a book. And I always tell my friends, I'm like, I wear my personality on my sleeves, but I always carry all my stories in my back pocket. So I thought, and my friends always tell me, you gotta write that down in a book, because that's a crazy story. That's a crazy story. And all of my stories are nuts in my book. I swear they're all true, 100%. I didn't fabricate, didn't lie, didn't try to zhuzh them up or anything. They are just crazy stories that are true stories. And so I decided I'm going to use my downtime and write my book. I'm just going to write it. I'm going to start. Chapter 1. Okay. This is where we're going to start. And it starts with my parents. Okay. I love my mom and dad. Okay. But they had it wrong. I am a hyper person. I am crazy hyper. I am a go-getter. In high school, I did cross country, track, basketball. I was a school photographer. I was on the yearbook. I wrote for the newspaper. I was rally commissioner, so I was even like an officer for the class. All 4 years. Crazy. Go-getter. Popular. All the things. But my parents thought I was on drugs and put me in a drug rehab when I wasn't on drugs. Never did. Still to this day, I've never done drugs. Okay. So they dropped me in a drug rehab. And back then, because my graduating year was 91, and this happened in 1990, my senior year.
We're right here together. Just so you know, age-wise, we're together. So
yeah. I got natural Botox. It's called fat filler. It's called fat. Anyway, so my parents thought I was on drugs, put me in a drug rehab. The test results came back 4 days later, and it turned out that I was anemic. No, I wasn't on drugs. And they were, everybody there at the facility, the kids, they all knew, they would sit there and they go, what's your drug of choice? And I'm like, I'm the known bitch at home. And they go, no, tell me your drug. And I'm like, I don't do drugs. And after a while, they kind of realized, they're like, yeah, like she's not a drug user. Like you look through, let you bring a photo album, and they looked through the photo album my parents brought to me, and all of them were like cheerleading pictures of my friends and, dances that we all went to. And I used to keep all the pictures of because back in the day, you used to change your, swap pictures. And so you put, they sign it, love you, Jessica, in the year. And all my pictures were just like that. It looked like a yearbook almost, just crazy. And they're like, yeah, where's your party pictures? I'm like, don't have any. But anywho, so it starts there. My book is called, Bucket List from a Redneck Girl. And I did the cover myself. It's just a bunch of photos of me growing up. Crazy, huh, Lexi?
Yeah,
that's
good.
Yeah. And so I thought, everybody goes onto Facebook and they want to like look at stock everybody's pictures. So I thought, might as well put it on my book. And so there's actually pictures inside the book too. So it's got, I don't know, when I flip through a book, the first thing I look is see if there's any pictures. So I just decided, hell, why not? I'll put it out there. My ugliness when I was young, when I thought I wasn't pretty, I put them all on there. So you get to see my little stages of life. But so I start the book with my parents dropped me off in a drug rehab. But then I go through like my journey, and I talk about everything really. I had a disfigurement. I was born with a lazy eye, and they used to call me Popeye. Like, they bullied me a lot. I was called Popeye. So I leaned into that. I called the chapter Popeye Girl, and I talk about my surgeries and the trauma that I actually remember from some of the things that happened. Crazy. Even me kicking the doctor right in the middle section. And him being so pissed. I could just remember the doctor just screaming at me. I also, there's just a lot of things that happened. I went to private school. I went to public school. And the nuns used to smack the crap out of me all the time. They did not like me. And I talked about the difference in the two. I went to high school, and I don't know, I started, there's all these stories intertwined in all of my chapters, but I'm going to give you the gist of some of them. My dad and my mom, before I went to high school, I want to talk about this chapter. It's called The Belt, the Hand, or the Hanger. And if you lived in our generation, a lot of you out there know that, Dad was not messing around when it came to discipline. So my dad would ask me, how would you want it? And he'd ask me the belt, the hand, or the hanger. And I'd be like, okay, well, the hand. My dad was a big dude. He was 6'3", 250 pounds ish or more. And he'd be like, smacking me until my butt hit the right shade of red. I mean, he hit it hard. And I was like, no, I don't want the hand. I don't want the hand. The hanger, no. Well, the hanger would leave welts and big old bumps. And I'm like, no, I don't want the hanger. No. I was like, yeah, I'll take the belt, Dad. Because sometimes he'd smack me and it would wrap around. It wouldn't hurt, but he thought he got me good. And I'd be, oh, Dad, that hurt. And then my dad would say, life is nothing but lessons learned. I talk about this throughout the book. I swear it just sits in the back of my mind all my life, because he'd say, did you learn your lesson? I'm like, yeah, I learned my lesson. I'll never do that again. Whatever. I'll not talk back to my mom, or whatever it was. And I grew up like learning so many life lessons. And that's what the book is about. Like all my little life lessons. When I found it hard to adult, I talk about that. High school was like, I was really popular, loved high school, was great in all the things that was happening. But my senior year, right before graduation, I had a high, that 3 o'clock high, growing up, you had that show or the movie 3 o'clock high where the guy's like, I'm going to kick your butt after school. And everybody came around to like come to this fight. That happened to me. The girl goes, back in the day, we used to borrow each other's clothes and swap our dresses for proms and stuff. And we used to, here, you want my jacket? You look cold. My friend gave me her jacket. I was like, okay, not my friend, but an acquaintance kind of like. And so she had a note in her pocket, and it was really juicy. And I read it, of course. And of course, because I'm hyper, I shared it with my friends. And it had something in it about like pregnant, and I don't think I'm going to keep it kind of thing in it. And I tried to fold it back the way she had it. Cause back then you'd fold your little notes like a little envelope, and it was like 2 pages. It was hard to fold. So I put it back in the pocket. When I gave her back the jacket, she looked, she's like, oh, did you read this? And I'm like, and I gave her like a Lucille Ball grimace, like, well, and she knew it. She knew it. And she got really mad and she walked away. Well, later that day, she came with a bunch of friends, and she's like, she goes, I'm going to fight you. And I'm like, no, you're not. First I apologized. I said, I'm so sorry. I should not have done that. I go, I was such a terrible person. I'm such a terrible person. I swear, I'm so sorry. I was throwing myself on the mercy of the teen court because there was like 20 kids around. And she's like, I don't care. I'm going to kick your ass, all that stuff, And all the kids around there were like, she said she was sorry. Like, leave her alone. And she's like, no, we're going to fight. And I go, well, I'm not fighting you at school because we're going to graduate, and I won't be able to graduate if we fight at school. And so somebody's like, yeah, we'll just go to Jessica's house. She could touch ground. And then you'll be at home. And that is actually what happened. It's the logic. It doesn't sound, I don't know where the person thought of it up, but it works. Anyways, the fight happened on Wildwood Road, my street. Appropriately named for my personality. Of course, I lived on Wildwood, and it was so crazy. The neighbors told my mom I was abducted by Mexicans. because my two best friends actually put me in their car and we took off after we started the fight. We had to finish it somewhere else. And the police were at my house. It was just a big thing. And the story goes on. It's actually pretty funny. But so that happened to me. That's crazy little high school. That's the biggest thing that happened to me in high school besides, I don't know, losing my virginity in El Camino. I don't know. That was probably the biggest thing that ever happened to me. But I was actually, I think I was like my senior year, I was 18. Oh no, it was 17. Yeah, I was 17 when the losing the virginity thing. I thought it was the last one of all my friends. I was like, when is it going to happen? Anywho, so I talk about that. It's kind of funny. A lot of the stories in the book are absolutely, I think, hysterical. I laugh reading them, and I'm the one that wrote them. And but I think they're funny. I think people will get a kick out of them, or find a little piece of themselves in my words. But so yeah, I went to a lot of stuff had happened. One of the things, my senior year after I graduated high school, my girlfriend says, oh, my brother was having parties. My mom and dad were gone camping. We camped a lot growing up. But my senior year, this year, after I graduated, they said I didn't have to go. I was like, thank God, I'm staying home. And so they went off to this camping site that we have in the High Sierras. It's a family property. And my brother's throwing parties, but he said, you can't leave your room. So my girlfriend's like, let's go to my boyfriend's farm. And I was like, okay. Turns out it's in Utah. So we take off, we go to Utah, and long story short, on the way home, I went the wrong way. That's the other thing. I can get lost in my own neighborhood. If you were to ask me right now where like right or no, like north is, I'd be like, I don't know. I have no clue where north is. And I'm sitting here, I should know, but I don't. Anyways, I went the wrong way and we ended up in Idaho. And I call this my God story because by the grace of God, we actually did make it home, but you have to read the story to find out what happened. It was so nuts. It's actually a miracle that we got home safely. You'll never believe the story, but I want to tell it to you so bad, but I can't because I want people to buy the book because it is so interesting. I don't know. Maybe I might tell it to you. It's so funny. But okay, I'll tell it to you. I'll tell you some of it. So we ended up at this old-timey gas station. And old-timey, I mean, we're talking like the pumps were old. You had to walk up to the wooden, building and open the door and you walk in. And I was, my head was down. I was almost in tears. And this nice old lady goes, well, honey, what's the matter? And I go, I was trying to get back to California from Utah and I ended up here. She's like, oh my God, you went the wrong way. Like halfway. I go, yeah, I'm getting that now. And I go, well, where am I? And she says, well, you're in Eden, Idaho. And like I said, my parents used to take us camping a lot. Well, the summer before we had gone to Eden, Idaho, to my grandmother's farm for a family reunion. And I told her, I go, I think my grandma lives in Eden. And she goes, well, honey, what's your grandma's name? And I said, Vineyard. And she put her head down and she walked out from underneath and she put her arm, she gave me a side hug and she walked me to the door, opened up the side door. And she's like, you see that road right there? She goes, right there, that road right there is your grandma's road. That's Vineyard Road. My grandma and grandpa's farm is a historical landmark. It's been there for a very long time. It's made out of lava rock and they have a lot of property and they have a road named after them because they've been there forever. And so she's like, that there's your grandma's farm. She goes, you go down there and you're going to be able to find your grandma. So we were in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And I stopped just exactly where I needed to be. And the story goes on, but I did make it home safely, needless to say. And I just kind of feel like I just felt like God placed me there because I was a lost little lamb and I had to find my way home. So, but there's a lot to the story. I gave you the gist of it, but can you imagine? I'm in the middle of nowhere and I'm on the street where my grandma lives and it's not even a street. I mean, it was the desert and all there was this gas station in the middle of nowhere.
For everybody's context, 1991, we were pre-GPS. We're using maps. We're having to use atlases and all maps to yeah.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know where I was. And it was literally flat ground, no mountains. It was all deserty. And all there was this tiny little station in the middle of nowhere. No, nothing for miles this way or nothing for miles that way. And I thought if I didn't stop at this place that I might, I don't know. I thought we're out of gas, and I didn't realize that we were told we had enough money to get home. We thought, and gas was $1.09 back then. In that year, I looked it up, and I thought I had enough money to get home, and we were starving. We were out of gas. We were just shit out of luck, to be honest with you. And I can't believe it, but we made it home safely. And then my dad's like, when I came home, he puts his hand out. He's like, "Give me your keys." They called the police on me. They called the police on me. I was moving out in 3 months anyways, but they called me a runaway. I mean, I graduated high school and they're calling me a runaway. They called the police on me. And so they said, "Give me your keys. You can have them back when you pay for your own insurance." So a week later, I got my second job because I was working at a car wash at the time, and I got another job, and then I moved out. Right before my 18th birthday, like 3 months almost before my 18th birthday, I moved out and tried to go out on my own, an adult. It was difficult. I made a lot of bad choices, couch surfed for a little while. And then I always worked 2 jobs my whole life. I don't understand how, but I just always worked really hard all the time. So I was a preschool teacher, and then I started cocktailing as a waitress. So I did and service. I did food service and stuff like that. But I always taught preschool, and I went to school and got child development. And this is where the bucket list comes in. So my counselor in college, he goes, "Well, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I'm like, "A wife and a mom." This sounds like that's all I wanted. That's it. I didn't want to be like a police officer or work in the office. I didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to be a mom and a wife and do all those things, and take care of the house and be a good mom. And he goes, "Okay." He didn't have anything to go with on that. So he says, "Okay, why don't you take child development courses, and that will help you understand children better, and maybe you'll be a better mom." And I'm like, sounds logical. So that's what I did. And I also, at the time, I was running for the college. I was a cross country in college too. And I ended up running cross country 2 years, one for Yuba College and one for Sierra College. And they're both in California. And I was pretty good. And I was in shape, and I ran a lot, and I swam, and I ran, and I took care of myself and tried to go to school as much as I could. But I always taught preschool, and I always, as my second job, well, it was my main job. My second job was always waitressing. And around that time I started, after I graduated, and I started getting a little bit independent. I got my own apartment, got my own car. I found somebody who helped me feel pretty. I started to feel better about myself, and because growing up, I always thought I was not pretty, and because had a lazy eye. And this lady, she was actually way older than me, but she taught me how to wear makeup and dress pretty. And I was skinny and had long hair, and I looked cute. And I started to feel good about myself. And so we were going out one night. I had a fake ID. I think I was 19. No, I was still like 18. I was about 18. I was really young, 18 or 19. And I got hit by a drunk driver, and my car caught on fire and exploded. I barely made it out alive. Like, this guy comes over and scoops me up as like he's carrying me across the threshold, and he carries me across the street, and the car, and we're like, our heads go back. A big old mushroom cloud. This guy hit me going 80, and then I hit the next car and the next car and the next car. It was like a 5-car collision. And the guy gets out of the car. I was still in the car. Before the guy carries me out, I'm in the car, and this guy comes out and goes, "Well, what happened? I didn't do this." And the guy goes, "Dude," the guy, the good Samaritan that helped me, he was like, "Bro, you just smashed your car." Like, my bumper was in the back, behind my seat. And I was like, basically, I was scrunched, and I couldn't walk. And that's when that guy picked me up and carried me. And as he carried me across, my car exploded. So it was just nuts. And so that happened. And then right after that, I got a new car. And then right after that, I got into my car after work, and hold on one second. Looks like I have you. I can't hear you. I did something. Either I did something. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. So I got a new car after my car exploded, and I get into the car after work. It was a VW Bug. It was a metallic. It was really cute. I get in, and the news is on, and it says that there's a high school shooting in Lyndhurst High School. That's my high school. My high school, we were very close. Everybody in my high school, we grew up in the same neighborhood. It's called Park Circle. I talk about it in the book. There's a chapter just on Park Circle. And we were very, very, very close. And so there's a high school shooting. There's a shooter at my high school. So I hop in the car and I go to my high school. It's like 20 minutes away. And my sister's there. And the gunman is somebody I know. And he goes into the high school and he shoots 4 people that I know. One of them was a teacher and 3 of my friends. And then he shoots 9 other of my friends. And then he holds 80 hostages for like 10 to 12 hours. And so I had got there about 4. It was 2 hours after it basically started. And the sun was starting. It was May. Well, see, so my high school shooting did not get like notoriety that a lot of the high school shootings get, because the Rodney King verdict came out on April 29th. Yep. And then the riots ensued. And then the next day there was rioting still. And then the next day was my school shooting. And so back then, you know, the news wasn't like it is today. Like the news cycle, the 24-hour news cycle today is like just insane. And back then that was like a local news thing. It didn't make national news. However, it did get a movie made of it, and it starred Henry Winkler, which is like the Fonzie, right, from Happy Days, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Ricky Schroeder, you know, from Silver Spoons. So they were the stars of the movie. It's called it's called Siege at Johnson High, and then there's another version of it is called Target of Rage. And so they did a movie on this high school shooting back then. I think it came out in like 96 or something. And this high school shooting was a year after I graduated. It was 92. And when I talk about it in the story about where my family was and what happened to my sister, and where we were in juxtaposition in the community at the time, trying to help our community. And you know, it was a very crazy thing that happened to our community, and we still cry about it, and we try to commemorate it on Facebook and try to, you know, never forget. I'll just say one thing about it. There was a kid. It's a friend of mine. In fact, my mom was sitting with his mom when she got the news. His name was Beeman. I can't even say it without like. Okay, so Beeman. There was a girl, the gun was in her face, right, and the guy was going to shoot her in the face. And so Beeman pushed the girl out of the way and said, no. And then he took the blunt of the bullet, and he just laid dying on the carpet for like 30 minutes in front of all of his friends. And then the guy that shot everybody up, he held everybody hostage in the C building on the second floor, and he would make kids go downstairs and like grab other kids that were hiding. And there wasn't a lot of places to hide in this place because a lot of the doors were like accordion doors. There wasn't a lot of like closets or doors to hide behind, but kids would either have to make the choice to bring somebody up or run for their life. And the guy said, hey, if you don't come back, I'm going to shoot somebody. And so they were left with a decision to come back. And a lot of them did. They're like, hey, they would say, I didn't find him, even though they found people. They were like, I didn't find anybody. They're all out. And they would go back upstairs to make sure they were there so that their friends didn't get shot. And so it was just crazy. And the guy is on death row. Well, nobody gets killed, it seems like, in California, but he's been on death row for ever and lost all of his appeals, and rightfully so. So that happened. And then I'll fast forward a little bit. I met my husband in Palm Springs, where he was a bartender going to school for physical therapy, and I was a cocktail server. And we met. Within a month, we were dating, and we've been together ever since. Our wedding, we had a Jerry Springer wedding, I call it. It's in the book. It's called Jerry Springer because my family could not get beside themselves to let me have a damn day. So a lot happened on my wedding. It was just nuts. Like my sister's marriage broke up on my wedding. And then my brother decided to announce that he was getting engaged, right? As you know, during like important part, like, I don't know. He just made a big announcement like, oh, I'm going to ask my girlfriend to marry me. And here's the ring. And, oh, and by the way, I'm leaving to go to a different reception for a friend. So goodbye, you know, just my family. And then there was just fighting and death threats, just all kinds of stuff happening on my wedding day. I didn't get all my pictures. My photographer left because I'm sitting here trying to console my sister for 45 minutes. And my photographer just says, okay, I guess we're done. No, we weren't done. And so I didn't get all my pictures. Anywho, so there was that happened. And then I was a stepmom. I have a stepdaughter. At the time she was 3.5 when my husband and I got together. And I have dealt with bio mom, I call her, for a very long time. Now I don't have to, but it was really difficult. I did my very best to be the best stepmom I could, but mom had us in court for every little thing. And in fact, I went into labor in the courthouse. And she wouldn't let us have a continuance. And I literally was in labor, and I'm like, you know, I'm like in labor. And mind you, it's 4 hours away from wherever we live. And so my sister picks me up and takes me back home to Palm Springs, and my husband stayed in court because he couldn't leave. And finally, he made it to Palm Springs, but like with 20 minutes to spare before my son was born. So nuts. But so there, I can, for people out there that are step parents, you know, I'm definitely on the dad's side because I am the stepmom. So my point of view is maybe skewed a little bit because I know what it's like when, you know, a mom, you know, uses the court to try and tear apart. She tried very hard to tear me and my husband apart, but all it did was make us, you know, make us stronger together, you know, a team. Still to this day, we're like a really strong team. And so you cannot tear it apart. I think it like was the best thing for our marriage, to be honest with you. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we left Palm Springs, went to Bakersfield is where I'm at right now. And I decided to start a family daycare from my living room. And then I was doing so good. I had so many, not my living room. We actually had a room. It was like 200 square feet. It's like the playroom. And I wrote my contracts and policies, and I ran it like a super business, and I had so many people wanting to get on a waiting list. So then we built onto the house. We built like a 700 square foot room with its own bathroom and entrance. And so that it was not necessarily in my house. It was in this room now. And again, I had 2 staff members, and I had a waiting list, and I was making good money. So I decided to open another one at a church, and it could have like 46 kids. And again, I built it up and was rocking and rolling. I just had a waiting list so long, and I had a staff of 8 this time, and I still had the family daycare, and I had the kids at the school. So it was doing really good. And so then my neighbor said, hey, you know, I have a commercial property, and I'm going to build something in this corner. It's like a triangle. And he goes, I don't know what to put there. And he goes, I think you could have a preschool there, and then the play yard could be the back part of, you know, the triangle or the top part or whatever. And I said, okay. And I go, how big is the building? He goes, 10,000 square foot building and a 30,000 square foot play yard. So I was like, well, let me ask my husband. So then I asked my husband, he says, let's go for it. And I didn't know anything about business. You know, as a preschool teacher, I had limited education. So I went onto Google and I taught myself how to write a business plan. And I wrote a business plan and submitted it to the SBA and got a loan for $700,000 and built the inside of the shell according to, well, I wrote how I wanted the building to look on a napkin, and I gave it to the contractor, and I'm like, that's what I want. And so they built the plans, and I fixed the inside, and then we built the backyard with trees and canopies and, you know, the squishy stuff for your play yard, your play equipment. I had the squishy stuff, you know, that tracks are made out of. And I had a commercial grade play structures in each of the yards, because I had a school age yard, a preschool yard, and a toddler yard. And so it was like you open the door, or excuse me, you'd open the book to like a Lakeshore magazine, which is like a preschool magazine. And that's what my school looked like. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. I put like over $120,000 in preschool toys in there. And let me just tell you, if you've never done that, unboxing $120,000 worth of toys and putting tables together and chairs and all that stuff is a lot of work. It took us like 2 weeks. Me, my husband, and my directors, we just did it together, and it took a long time. But my school was gorgeous. It had computers, and it was designed differently than any other school out there, and it was unique. I can't really explain it to you because nobody would really envision it the way I am. But it had a toddler room, it had an infant room, a 2-year-old room, 4 like preschooler rooms, and a school age room, and a dramatic playroom, and it was huge. And but I pre-sold parents from the dirt lot. I said, this is where the preschool room is going to be, and this is over here is where the toddler room is going to be, and that's going to be the office. You're going to swipe a card to get in, because we want security, And I sold 140 families before we even opened the door. So we opened the door day one with over 140 families. And I had a staff of 28 on day one. Can you imagine, like, just the start of like deep breath? Because this is, you had to really prepare. So it took me 9 months to build the school, and we prepared my butt off. And I had meetings, and the staff knew what to expect and all of the stuff. And we were making money, $1 million business. Boom. Yeah, it was crazy. And so I opened the business, this one, in 2008. Can you imagine the perfect time? No, to open a business. No, it was terrible, because everybody in Kern County was losing their jobs. The economy was going to crap. The first year was great. We did great. And then all of a sudden, in like the end of 2009 and beginning of 2010, people were starting to lose all their jobs. So we went from, at my highest, I think 180 students to 88 students. And at that time, I was injecting some of my own money as well. And then I was pregnant, and my daughter was born. And right away, we found out she needed open heart surgery. And so she has what's called tetralogy of Fallot. And you can't leave them alone with somebody else. You have to make sure they eat.
Yeah, please.
Can I ask you something? Nothing
on my end. Nothing's changed.
I'm echoing. All of a sudden, I started echoing. Okay.
It might be your noise cancellation or something other. Hang on a second. Yeah. All right. What about now? Is that better?
Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah, I'm way better.
Hey, tell me, what was that?
Well, it is a little bit, but it's okay.
What condition does your daughter have?
What? So my daughter was born with a condition called tetralogy of Fallot. And it's a heart condition that has to be fixed right away, like within the first 5-6 months of life. And they said that she can live until, or she can wait until she's 5 months, but then they wanted to do it. They thought that she could get a little bit stronger, and if you eat, or you feed them and they can eat. Well, here's the thing. Tetralogy of Fallot, when you would feed them, they'd fall asleep, and you have to wake them up. And a lot of the kids would be weak and small for the surgery because they wouldn't get enough nutrients. So I literally just laid in bed with her, with her attached to my boob. And I'm just like, we're not moving. I'm going to feed you every second of the day you want. And that girl was strong. And she was huge. They actually had to put her in a different medical outfit because they thought that she was so big. They're like, we didn't expect her to be so big. So she was strong for her surgery, and she went through with flying colors. But she's going to have surgeries every 10 years of her life. So she just got it all clear just recently. But once she grows into her adult body, she'll probably have to have another one. And so, but she's only had the one. Usually they have another one when they're like 12 or 15. So she's actually been good to go. We're really lucky. So at that time, my business wasn't doing so hot, but I was still sticking with it. And then all of a sudden with Piper, and then my landlord, the guy that owned the property, said, I really want to buy your business. And I was like, this is the perfect time to actually sell it. I thought I could make a profit, but no, the guy did not pay me what he was supposed to. And we were in litigation. And his brother was an attorney, and the mediators, like, they told me in confidence that they're just going to milk you. She didn't want to tell me, but she's like, I'm going to tell you, they're just going to keep you here until you run out of money. And so I just settled, and I lost my business basically. But had I known what I know now, because I have a business degree, I probably would have done something different. And I can't even drive by that street right now. If every time I do, I want to vomit, because that's my school. They're still using my contracts and policies. They're still using my contracts and policies, like 10 years later. No, 16 years. My daughter's 16. God, it's been so long. I cannot believe it. I'm sorry, it's just hitting me all of a sudden. How long it's been since I lost the school is what I feel like I did. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. My husband said, okay, now that Piper's 3, because she was in kindergarten. Well, first of all, we found out when she was 2 that she had cerebral palsy. So here's another thing that she's saddled with. And she wasn't talking, and she wasn't eating solid food. And so we got her the help. We found out she had cerebral palsy, so now she's in a special preschool. And as soon as she started school, my husband's like, well, do you want to get a job now? I'm like, no. Because you can why don't you go back to school? And I was like, okay, so that's what I did. When Piper was in school and when she slept, and my son was in school and he slept, I went to school. So I did it early in the mornings, and then I did it late at night. And I did school. It took me 4 years, and I got a bachelor degree in marketing, business administration and marketing. And then I had to get a job right when I got my degree, and I did get a job at a TV station. And then COVID hit, and then I was like, let me get my master's degree. But I also talk about this in the book that I swear God had showed me. I know this sounds weird. I'm not even a religious person. I cannot recite scripture to save my life. But I swear God had showed me that he wanted me to get my master's degree. And I talk about it in the book, all these weird signs. And I just opened up my eyes, and I'm like, God told me to go get my master's degree. Can I do it? He's like, whatever. He goes, whatever is your journey. It's like, I'm all for it. I was like, okay. So during COVID, I got my master's degree in project management and marketing. And so then I got my second job because I was like, I'm going to get a better job. And it turns out it's not that much better. So I just kept both of them, and that's what happened. Crazy. But during that time, I wrote my book because I had some downtime. And then I started a podcast because I wanted to talk about all of the things in my book. Because there's so many things I never told. I mean, like my babysitter robbed us. There's so many things I didn't even tell you about that are in the book. That are just some crazy stories. And so I thought I can do a podcast on almost everything that happened to me because I can relate to a lot of people. We could talk about drug use and teens and how to navigate through that, even though I wasn't on drugs, but I can maybe help from the kids' point of view, or or talk about how to navigate through that as a parent. I could talk about discipline across the different generations. I could talk about my high school shooting and how people need to look for the signs in the kids. Can you imagine if it was your kid that did that? I mean, you'd feel you'd feel guilty forever. Those are the things that we discuss. We talk about family issues. We talk about relationships. We talk about kids. And then we talk about books because that is my new passion. Not only did I write a book, but I am now writing novels. I have 2 novels done, and I'm on my 3rd novel. They are spicy romance novel that has a little part of a thriller. I don't know. It's a hybrid. I don't know what you want to call it because it's not necessarily a big thriller, but it's more 49 Shades of Grey. It's pretty spicy. So I love to have people on about books. So they talk about, I have all these different people that have gone through so many crazy things in their life. They write about them, or they're writing fantasy novels, or they're writing thrillers. And I'm just really interested in hearing their stories and what led them to that. And so I started a podcast, and I'm having so much fun doing it. It's so much fun. It's called Just Saying with Jessica and Danel. And I love it. And so, so now I'm writing novels, and I am still working my jobs. I'm still a mom, trying to cook dinner every night.
For the folks that your website, I posted it, Jessica. I posted your website. I posted your book link. Man, you're such a personality. Like, this is a lot of fun for me.
Didn't I tell you I have some stories? I have so many stories. I have so many more I did not even tell you. But I think that it's
mind us at all. It's like, all right, first off is tell folks how they can find your podcast and what the name is for that, and then let folks know how they can find your book, your website. Make sure you tell everybody how they can get in touch with you as we wrap up here. Because listen, man, my job was to scratch the surface and to get everybody, because it is, like you said, if you have such an amazing story that has so many twists and turns, how can folks get in touch with you?
So I do have a website. It's Just Saying with Jessica. Well, no, I'm sorry. Back up. My podcast is Just Saying with Jessica Danel. Sorry about that. My website is Just Saying. So it's .net. So it's JESSSAYING.net. And on there, you can find my social media sites, links to my sites. You can see a little of the social posts that I put out there. You can see all of my episodes. You go to podcast on my website, and you scroll down to the episode or the person, the guest. You click onto their name, they'll take you directly to their website. So you have a mecca of information to help you not only go to my podcast, which is like Spotify, iHeart, and all those places, but you can actually learn so much about my guests on my website, which is nice, I think. And then I'm on everything: LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I don't have a big following on X, but I'm getting more on TikTok. I'm like almost 11,000.
Listen, I've got to.
I'm growing.
I've got to move to. I coach in the afternoon, so I got to move to my responsibilities. But what I wanted to tell you was, when you were talking about all the things, is what I heard as just someone we ain't too far apart. I ain't have all the things you have, but we've had our own. And you have I always tell folks, I'm one of these guys. I don't like taking advice from people who hasn't walked in heavy shoes at times. And you absolutely have an authority on a lot of things between parenting and business, and when to go, when to pause, and you have earned the right to share these stories because you have so much earned experience, Jessica. And I wanted to tell you that. And I hope at some point in time you and I can you might grab 2 stories and let's spend a couple hours just talking about those, because man, we not even scratched the surface. But I wanted to tell you that, man, you have coming out of all the things that you're doing and finding your purpose in podcasting and life, and just what we do as someone who feels like that like you use the words, is God kept giving you sign after sign, and it's hard for someone who doesn't have a lot of spirituality to be like, what the crap is going on here? And it's helping folks discover those moments is something I absolutely love to do. And I'm like, you sure you ain't getting a sign? And they're like, well, Jeff, I'm not religious. Religious people get non-religious people get signs too. So don't. So I wanted to.
call them breadcrumbs, and that's the name of the chapter. I call it Finding the Breadcrumbs. And sometimes you just have to open up your eyes and say, like you beat me over the head with the signs. You got to like open your eyes and like, okay, I'll in. And a lot of times, let me just say, you got to put your big girl panties on or your big boy panties on. When you fall down, you got to put back up your britches, and you got to move on, and you got to stay positive and work towards your goals. That's one thing me and my husband do, is we work towards our goals all the time. And I still have goals I haven't, I still have it. I have so far to go, but I have checked off some on my bucket list, and that's why the book is called Bucket List from a Redneck Girl. And I've checked off a few of them. I still have a few to go, but I don't know. If you have a story in your back pocket like I did, I encourage people to write it down. And it's very lethargic. You can learn a little bit about yourself in the last chapter, and that's what I have in my last chapter. It's called Mastering My Mistakes. So anybody out there thinks you got some stories in your back pocket, I encourage you to write them down.
Make sure that you buy that book, folks. Jessica, thank you for being with me. Cannot thank you enough. Absolutely. I've had a blast today, and I hope that life will put me and you on the same path to reconnect again. And I look forward to promoting this episode and getting it out to all my followers. So thank you for being here. Yep, Jessica Danel.
Thank you.
Jeff Robertson Show.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Jeff Robertson Show. He used to work in none of your business, and now he's in all your business. Welcome to the Jeff Robertson Show.